Hello everyone. 11th September 2001, a horrifying day that shocked America to the core, a day that perhaps changed the whole world forever, even after 20 years later. The effect of that day can be seen in our life today. You wouldn't believe it, how this day has impact in your life. Come, let's try to understand it in today's video.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack. Oh my God. In a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
Of the Pentagon.
The Pentagon has been evacuated and the White House is affected.
Now this is what it looked like moments ago. My God.
It was the morning of 11th September. American Airlines Flight 11 take off from Boston International Airport. The destination of this flight was Los Angeles. Around 92 people were aboard in this airplane, of whom 11 were crew members and 81 were passengers. About 15 minutes after the flying took off, it came to be known that of the 81 passengers, five were hijackers. These hijackers hijacked the plane by overpowering the passenger, forcing their way into the cockpit. One of them was Mohammed Hatta. He was trained as a pilot. By nationality, he was an Egyptian and was 33 years old. He takes away the control of the plane from the pilot and flies the plane toward the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center was the monumental historical building that was the tallest building in the world. It was the pride of New York. The hijacker crashed the plane into the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
What is that? Somebody hit the World Trade Center or the...
It's a trade center.
The World Trade Center.
It's 8:52 here in New York. I'm Bryant Gumbel. We understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. You're looking at the World Trade Center.
This crash took place in the morning at 8:46 a.m. Then the president of the U.S., George Bush, was on a tour of a school in Florida. His White House chief of staff was informed of this crash. He tells George Bush, but Bush couldn't believe it. He says that it's unbelievable that anyone could do this. It shows that the surely pilot suffered of the heart attack maybe. That's why the plane crashed to this building. How else could it happen?
Sir, it appears a small twin-engine prop plane crashed into one of the towers at the World Trade Center in New York City. Our collective response was, oh, what a horrible accident. The pilot must have had a heart attack or something.
Only 15 minutes later, it comes to be known that United Airlines Flight 175 had also been hijacked by 5 hijackers, took away the control of the plane. Because only 17 minutes after the first crash, those hijackers once again turned toward the Trade Center and crashed the plane into the South Tower. The second crash into the South Tower. By this time, US President George Bush reached the school and was in the classroom with the children of second period. He was in the midst of the reading exercise named the Pet Code. This time his chief of staff, Andrew, went in the classroom and whispered in his ear, America is under attack. But George Bush stayed in the classroom. He continued the reading exercise and for the next 7 minutes, the exercise continued and he took photos with the children and with teachers, compliment the children. This 7 minutes was very critical because in these 7 minutes, the news spread worldwide. The two plane crashed in the World Trade Center. Later, many people criticized George Bush for this, asking why he didn't take immediate action. When it was dominant, 2 planes were hijacked, America was attacked, there were crashes in the Trade Center. He remained in the classroom in those minutes, ignoring all that is A few minutes after the second crash, the news of two more plane hijack comes in. Or was the American Flight 77. It had taken off from Washington International Airport. This flight was head to the Los Angeles and it was carrying 5 hijackers. The second flight was United Airlines Flight 93, the flight going from New Jersey to California. Apparently it had 4 hijackers. Both flights were rerouted toward Washington DC. Friends, the Washington DC is the capital of the United States of America. On the outskirts of Washington DC is the headquarters of the US Department of Defense. It's called the Pentagon. Hijacker turned Flight 77 toward the Pentagon, and Flight 77 was crashed into the Pentagon building. At this point of time, after the third crash, that entire airspace of the United States was shut down. All airplanes in the air were ordered to land at the nearest airport. The third crash into the Pentagon building took place at 9:37 a.m. Because of this, significant pattern of the Pentagon just get destroyed. At 9:59 a.m., due to the plane crash into the South Tower, the whole building had caught in fire. Because of the fire and crash, the structure of the building had weakened, and at this time the entire building collapsed. The South Tower fell. During this time, everyone was scared of the fourth hijacked plane. United Airlines Flight 93, the fourth plane, have been hijacked. People were scared about where the hijacker would crash this plane. It was suspected that the plane would be crashed into the White House or the US Capitol. The White House is a very important place for the United States because this is the residence of the US President. The US President lives there. And the United States Capitol building is the legislative seat of the US federal government. Basically, you can compare Capitol Hill to your country Capitol Parliament. They are equivalent. So it was suspected that the target of the fourth plane whether be the White House or the Capitol Hill building. On the other hand, people of this aeroplane, some of them had turned on their phone when the plane was hijacked. They started getting phone calls from their family members. They told them about what was happening in America. The three planes were crushed. World Trade Center was collapsed. Soon the passenger in this plane had realized that what was happening. Their plane was also hijacked. And like the other hijacked planes were crushed, soon their plane would also be crashed. They didn't have many options. They could either sit back and watch the hijacker crash the plane too, or they could be brave and fight back with hijackers. And friends, these people showed the courage to fight the hijackers. The common people sitting in the United Airlines Flight 93 started to fight back against the hijackers. There was an error in the plane. The next part of the story isn't clear about what exactly happened in the plane. There are audio records in the plane, but passenger fight back could actually reach to the cockpit or not. If they could overpower the hijacker or not, we don't know that. We know that the passenger tried to fight back, and eventually the plane crash landed in the field, in the empty field. One thing is certain, because of the bravery of the passenger, the life of many people were saved. At the 10:28 a.m., the North Tower of the World Trade Center also collapsed. By the time this horrific morning turned into the noon on America, it is revealed that total of more than 3,000 people had died across the incident, and more than 6,000 people were injured. Several were killed in the Pentagon, several were killed in the Trade Center, some are in the plane killed, and suspected that the terrorist group of Al-Qaeda were behind of this attack. Osama bin Laden. A few days after the 9/11 attack, Osama bin Laden radio statement saying that he is not responsible for it. He denies responsibility. But in 2004 US election, about 3 years after this incident, a public tape record is published by the Osama bin Laden, where he acknowledged the attack and took responsibility for it. Osama justifies it by saying that there were several motivations of Al-Qaeda behind carrying out those attacks. The interference of the US in the Middle East, the US support Israel, supporting the action against the Muslim in Lebanon, supporting Russia in crimes against Muslims in Chechnya, sections that had been declared by the US against Iraq, the US collaboration Saudi Arabia, sending its troops to Saudi Arabia. Osama listed down several reasons, said that was why they attacked America, that they want to teach a lesson to America. The main conclusion of all the reason was that they were doing so because the Muslims were being abused. Remember this because in the next part of the story it's an important lesson about this. The 9/11 Commission report named a Pakistani terrorist Khalid Sheikh Mohammed to be the principal architect of those attacks. This person was involved in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing as well. He, along with 4 other accused people, were put in the Guantanamo Bay jail. He is still there undergoing trial. On the other hand, Osama bin Laden is finally killed in May 2011. But perhaps there is a very important, you can't imagine the level which these attacks have an impact. Only 6 weeks after the 9/11 attacks, Patriot Act was passed in a rush by the US government, Congress. Several politicians who were present in the US Parliament hadn't even read this. Neither was there a proper discussion about this, nor were there any amendments. The Patriot Act was simply passed. What was so special in this act? Additionally reduced the power of the judiciary, and this act perverted everyone. People point out how the government basically used the Patriot Act and used the terrorism threat as an excuse to silence its dissenter, the people speaking out in opposition of the government. The act was used to silence them. About 12 years after 9/11, whistleblower made a terrifying expose about this. The news spread worldwide about how the US government was carrying out surveillance. It was spy. The NSA was collecting the full record of the customer daily, without any warrant, without any evidence, without informing people. The government could spy on anyone, and so did. After 9/11, friends, another shock came change was in the airport security as well. You would be surprised to know that before 2001, most of the airport in the world, there wasn't much security checking. Sometimes they merely check the ID and the metal detector that we seen entering the shopping malls. The security check was similar to that. Before boarding an aeroplane, you didn't even need to arrive long before boarding the flight. Arriving 15 minutes to 30 minutes before, it is sufficient. But after 9/11, everything was changed. Today, full body scans, mandatory personal ID, check passports, check everything, boarding passes are given. You are told to empty your pockets. When bags are checking, you need to place laptop or other devices outside. The quantity of the liquid you can carry on aeroplane is also restricted, and there are various minor restrictions that weren't there before. After December 2002, explosive detection systems were developed. Later it was done in the rest of the world. In early 2003, pilots were given weapons to protect themselves for the first time. Cockpit doors were enforced so that they could be protected against small fires, arms, and even grenades. For the attack, Osama used the excuse of USA interference in the Middle East. But after 9/11, this was even more prevalent. After 9/11, the US invaded Afghanistan to seek out these terrorist groups. We are still witness the story. The USA remained in Afghanistan for 20 years. Thought Osama bin Laden is killed. Many US soldiers lost their lives. Many civilians are killed in those wars. Additionally, the US invaded Iraq as well. Do you remember how Osama said that because of Muslim were being abused, it was taking revenge? After 9/11, the attack on Muslims were increased ever more. A new wave of xenophobia against Muslims in South Asia. In 2001, 481 hate crimes took place against Muslims. Not only that, there are several hate crimes against Sikhs as well. Because many nationalists couldn't understand the difference between Sikh and Muslims. The turbans of beards of Muslims are turbans of Osama bin Laden's. Perhaps the first victim of such a hate violence was Balbir Singh Sodhi. 15 September, he has donated money for the 9/11 victims. He was planting some flower outside of his gas station in Arizona when he was killed. His killer, Frank Recchio, was arrested and he is still serving alive in jail. After this, some Sikh people shaved their beards and stopped wearing turbans because of the security concerns. But the hate crimes against the Muslim Sikhs, against South Asia in general, and the abuse kept more increased. There is no fear in the America after these attacks. Many people were arrested without any evidence and put in the jail, tortured, human rights abused, or seen a large scale, and the Americans were in favor of it and support it. They thought that the surveillance on them and the people that were being tortured, the innocent people being arrested, was all justifying in a fight against the terrorists. Many critics claimed that America were on terror, was synonymous or torture. Basically what happened, claimed that Americans were on terror, was synonymous with torture. Basically what happened because of it was that more people were choosing the way of terrorism in anger or revenge. There was a Bollywood movie while in New York with John Ibrahim and Katrina Kaif. I'd say that it movie had depicted this scenario quite well. In this whole story, friend, I see a very simple lesson. Extremes breeds extremes. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Osama had said that he was taking revenge. What the USA did by killing several innocent people. And once Osama had done that, the US said that it is taking revenge against what Osama had done by invading in Afghanistan and Iraq, killing many innocent people. And the family of the people that are killed feel that because the USA had done that, they would take revenge by joining the terrorist groups. So this story of revenge, this story continued forever. This is endless. When one terrorist is killed, it creates another. And today you can see that thought Osama bin Laden was killed, but the organization ISIS had come for front. There's a second lesson for us as well. We should never let any government to use the act of terrorism as an excuse to exploit us. The US government exploited the US citizen a lot after 9/11 through the surveillance and the Petro Act. Never be so blind by fear that you stop seeing the reality. Thank you for watching until end. I hope you all enjoy. Bye.